The sound of her father's footsteps made Matilda shiver. It was clear to her that an angry explosion would soon break out. The habit of his daughter, which Duke Albrecht of Teschen could not tolerate, became the cause of their constant clashes. Despite her father's efforts, Matilda continued to secretly take out the phone, but this time she realized that she was caught. Trying to hide the object behind her back and smiling, she met her father's gaze, which did not express anger, but distorted with horror. At this time, black smoke began to rise under Matilda's back. The width of the skirts of the French Empress Eugenie reached 2.5 meters. At the same time, fashionistas from England in the 1850s got out even further, wearing such magnificent crinolines that they hardly managed to get into doorways. This became a problem even when traveling in carriages, since even the most luxurious and spacious of them could not provide enough space for smoothing the dress to avoid its crumpling. Even in modern times, attempts to revive this fashion have also been unsuccessful. The famous wedding dress of Princess Diana is a vivid example. Its huge width was so disliked by the carriage that it had to be literally rammed into the salon. As a result, on the most important day of her life, the princess looked like she was standing in line. Nevertheless, women at that time adored the fashion for crinolines. A meringue-like skirt could magically transform any woman, even with curvy forms, into an elegant sylph. That is why the crinolines became even more voluminous and lush. However, there was one important aspect that was overlooked. Such voluminous skirts literally swept away everything in their path. In 1850, Maria Lazic finally realized that their union with Athanasius Fett was impossible. His lack of money and his status as a penniless woman made their marriage inapplicable. In deep depression, she did not notice her surroundings, not even paying attention to the fact that her dress was behind the grate. The fire broke out instantly, and there was no way to save Maria. If skirts were less lush or made of less thin material. The same period was distinguished by the English magazine Punch, which mocked contemporaries. One could only shudder sympathetically, watching the lady standing next to the fireplace. Even if there was a Crinoline insurance company, the journal entry read, it probably wouldn't have coped with the wave of appeals. Princess Matilda of Teschen, whose fate is marked at the beginning of this story, also fit into the tragic statistics. Her case turned out to be even more absurd than the others. A young lady from the Habsburg dynasty, a highly educated and wealthy heiress, destined for the king of a united Italy, had one habit. But this addiction did not meet with the approval of her serious father, and this is understandable. The fact was that Matilda smoked her pipe like a real pirate, and did it secretly every time she could not be noticed. However, one day everything went wrong. On June 6, 1867, having retired to her study, the girl, knowing that her father had left the palace, did not expect that the Duke of Teschen would suddenly return. Trying to quickly hide the phone behind her back, she accidentally touched a coal that got on her dress. The fire broke out so quickly that no one even had time to react. The young beauty found her place in the imperial crypt earlier than she could have imagined, leaving her family in despair. By the end of the 1860s, the Lancet magazine argued that the fashion for crinolines should be forgotten as soon as possible. This concerned not only young girls, but also mature ladies, women of all classes. An example of this was the case of Ellen Wright from Harding, who turned out to be in the statistics. Because of the game, imitating many 7-year-old girls, she found fun in trying on her mother's outfits. One day, while her mother was busy, she put on her mother's crinoline, and again, the coal played its role. The ambulance could not change the outcome of this situation, and Lavender Mills suddenly flared up like a candle in the process of cleaning her mistress's fireplace on Sloane Street in 1866. The event did not go unnoticed, and all the London newspapers made a fuss about this case. "Beware of grates," exclaimed the headlines. However, everyone understood that it was absolutely impossible to avoid them. Only maximum caution was required. The media shared different stories. How one girl, hurrying to open the door to the milkman, touched the lamp on the table of the crinoline. How a young mother bent over a child playing next to the fire, and her dress touched the fireplace. Flammable crinolines became a symbol of the half of the XIX century. They were written about. Caricatures were drawn. Absolutely everything was discussed. And no matter how they said it, Week after week brought new reports of similar incidents. Even outstanding personalities became the heroes of newspaper articles because of the crinolines that caught fire. So the Duchess Fitzjames got into the print columns precisely because of the burning dress, and the Countess de Saint Marceau, trying to extinguish the clothes of another lady, ignited at a Paris ball, herself became a victim of the flame. A sad fate befell the sisters Mary and Emily Wilde. Both were invited to a ball at the Drummacanor estate in the Irish county of Monaghan. When one of them caught fire dress, the second hastened to help, but their efforts were in vain. By the end of the XIX century, women's outfits underwent radical changes. The silhouette became more simplified, less fabric was required. At times, the skirts narrowed downwards so that it was difficult to walk in them. This often led to new inconveniences. Fashionistas stumbled and fell. Probably, it happens at all times. As soon as fashion begins to reach the absurd, it ceases to be an ornament and begins to cause harm.